Here's a little job we can do now. This is one of the downspout extensions from the side of the house, and it's supposed to start raining for about 3 days. And a long time ago, this thing in a storm got a kink in it, and I straightened it out. And over time, that kink has just gotten worked and worked and worked till it finally broke. So what we're going to do today is fix it. I'll show you how to do that. This is just aluminum. It's pretty easy to cut. So what we got to do first is square off, get back into good stuff, and get this thing squared up. So your results may vary. Read your instructions, follow your safety precautions. But I just use my my compound miter saw with a carbide tip blade. You just go, you cut really slow with it, and it'll cut. Watch your ears. So we'll square up the other end, and then I'll show you how to put them together. So now we're going to use one of these things, a pipe crimper. It's mainly for duct work, but you can use it on these. And you want to make sure that this is the source, right? That's our downspout. So we want to crimp this end so it slides inside that pipe so we don't get a leak. So you just go around here with this thing. Maybe I'm doing it backwards. I seem to be making it bigger, not smaller. Hang on. Let's try it that way. Oh, that's better. Okay. Yeah, there we go. And it's important to get the corners, right? There, you see how that pulls that in? There. Now with a little finesse, we ought to be able to slide that into there. And then once you get it started in, you got to shove it at least past there. You want a good 1.5 inches of overlap on this to make a strong joint. So we'll work on that. Usually if you put it against a wall or something and shove on it, it'll get in there. And we finish it up with a couple of sheet metal screws, and it's all done. We can go put it back outside. Here's a little odd job we're doing today. We've got the Ferris zero turn in the shop for spring service. No big deal. I'm not even going to show you all of that procedure because we've done it before. I might put a link in the box below so you can see what's involved in servicing this thing up. It's got a million grease fittings on it, that's for sure. But anyway, I want to talk about the front tires on it. These are the original ones. They're 13 by 500 by 6. So this one here kept going flat, and it's actually got like a defect on the inside of the tire that keeps cutting the tube. So I was going to buy a pair of tires and a pair of tubes for it, and then I said to myself, why don't you get some run flats? Sorry, I mean flat free. Run flat. They're on a car. So at the time, all I could find was these cheap things. They're the right size, but you'll notice they're treaded, right? They're not smooth like they should be. So what happens? These treads, you can see they pick up all this mud and crap. And while they throw it at me, the whole time I'm mowing, I'm getting pelted. It's like going to a sprint car race, right? I'm getting pelted with junk that comes off these tires. So I thought, that's no good. So at the auction, I found these. Look at 13 by 500 by 6, just like what I took off it, eh? Well, no. I guess that's the over there 13 by 500 by 6. You know, that famous place, the Land of Almost Fits. See if I can get them to stand. It's hard to get these damn things to stand. There we go. Look at the difference in height. I don't think that'll even fit in the in the thing there, right? It'll be pretty close to touching at the top. So then at another auction, I found these ones. 13 by 6, 50 by 6. Now they're a little bit wider, but they're at least the right height. The other problem with putting these big tall ones on, it's going to screw up my mower level, right? So anyway, what we're going to do is try and put these guys in there today. But I'm not sure if the fork here is wide enough, right? It looks pretty close. So all we can do is drop one of these guys out and try to shove this up in there and see what happens. So here's how they fit. These are the ones that are the right height, but they're kind of wide. But they go right in there. And that, honestly, I kind of like these. That little wider profile might help with this thing getting stuck so much around here. On this side, we've got the ones that are the right width, but they're too tall. And you can see it does clear everything, but it is going to muss up my my mower height. I would have to adjust that, right, to get the deck back level again. I guess that's not that big a deal. But I don't know. Maybe we'll try the wide ones first. Well, it's close, but it clears. And I don't really even care if it rubs a tiny bit. It ain't going to hurt nothing. And eventually, like the stock cars do, it'll clearance itself. So I'm going to go ahead and try and get the other one put on. And hopefully we have the same luck over there. And that'll be it for our front wheels. Problem solved. Good. Got this one on too. It just touches a tiny bit. Not even worried about it. We'll see how it goes when we get out and mow with it. Here's another little job. We got this little garden cart, or whatever you want to call it, at a yard sale a while ago. And like all of these things, the inner tubes, you know, from the land of almost fits, are all dry rotted inside. I've got only one tire on this thing that holds air. So we went ahead and ordered a set of flat free. These are just solid tires. I get them on Amazon. See, they get you twice. They make you buy 2 sets of tires with these things. The ones that it comes with, and then a year later you got to buy a set of these. It's unbelievable. Everything you buy now is a piece of junk. It's so disheartening. So anyway, these ones seem to have acorn nuts on the ends instead of the usual washer and cotter pin. So we'll grab a socket and get these nuts off and see what we find. All right. That was pretty easy. Yeah, that's a lot better. That thing runs really nice. Good. Now we got the same job to do on this thing. It's truly fascinating. My original, made over here wheelbarrow that's hanging off the side of my shed over there, it's still got the original tire with the original air in, and it's about 40 years old. This thing, okay, at least I didn't pay money for this. I found it at the dump. Somebody took this thing to the dump and threw it in the bin. Well, because the tire was flat. So I blew it up, and it actually lasted a couple of years, but now it won't. You can blow it up 5 times a day, and it just keeps going flat. So somewhere around here in this shop, I've got a flat free tire that we got at Canadian Tire for it. So here's the box. Here's the Canadian Tire number if you need to get one of these for yourself. Here's what you get. Here's the wheelbarrow wheel as it comes out of the box. It's got nylon bushings in it, and they give you all kinds of these little nylon spacers and stuff so you can make it fit your situation. So these are carriage bolts, so we should be able to just turn the nuts. And we probably only have to take one end of this off, and then we'll get the shaft in it and pack it up with packers and see how it looks. So once we get this guy off, we can just pull the wheel out. Now hopefully the axle will fit into our new wheel. That'll be our first victory, right? All I ended up having to do was shorten up these spacers that were in there. They look like a couple of hunks of 3/4 plumbing pipe that I probably made. But they're in there. I had to take about, I don't know, 1/2 inch off of them. This wheel's a tiny bit wider. But that's good. We're all set. Can put Deb's wheelbarrow back in service. Here's a new little job. This Ryobi battery chainsaw came from one of my neighbors. The complaint was that it was smoking. So I popped it apart, and what we see the problem is the thing is so packed with sawdust. The lube oil that comes out to lube the chain is getting soaked up by all the sawdust, and none of it is getting to the chain. You can see here the chain is dry as a bone, and I just ran it a little bit and it's hot. So we're going to get this all cleaned up and make sure it's pumping oil. You can see how much stuff it's in there. It gets built up quick, and when it gets soaked with oil, it turns into like a pasty kind of sawdust that sticks to itself, and it just packs in there. Now it's all cleaned up and back together. We snugged up the chain a little bit, but I'll fire it up and buzz it a couple of times, and then we'll you see how it loosens up? That's bizarre. Anyway, we'll get that tightened up. Okay, let's try it now. Okay, check. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now we're going to top up the oil, and then I'll run it a bit more and make sure it looks like oil is getting to the bar. It's good. We can see signs of oil on the bar here. We can see some oil running down back in there. So that's good. I'd say we fixed it. I tried it out and it went through this with no trouble at all. So I guess it's fixed. I'll give them a shout and they can come and get it, because they need it, because they're still cleaning up from the ice storm we had back in the winter. Man, there's still a lot of mess around from that ice storm, I'll tell you. Here's today's little project. This is our 2003 Ram 3500. And what I want to do is come up with a winter front for the grill. So, 4th gen diesel Rams, 1500s with the 3-liter diesel, and heavy duties with the 6.7 Cummins, both came from the factory with a winter grill cover under the back seat that you could put on. But to my knowledge, the 3rd gens didn't. It was sold as an accessory over the counter at the Chrysler dealer. And I think I priced it once and said, I don't need that to buy that today, right? Anyway, in the meantime, I came upon at the auction or somewhere a 4th gen one that's supposed to mount on the outside of the grill. And I think this is some kind of a GM one. So we're going to get these two things out and see if we can come up with something that's going to work on our 3rd gen. The first thing we see, this one doesn't have the bottom piece that covers the hole in the bumper for the intercooler. I'm pretty sure this one is off 1500 with the Eco Diesel. And the other difference is that on the 4th gen, it goes on the outside of the grill, and the one designed for the 3rd gen actually goes under the hood. You don't see it when the hood is closed. It just hangs over the cooling module, because we don't really see the radiator, the AC condenser and the aftercooler or the intercooler. All that stuff is in front of it. So you can see I've just got it sitting there, and that's kind of how it sits on the truck, but it's not going to work on this one. Well, that was stupendously simple. We didn't have to modify anything at all. We were able to find stuff. It sits right in there. It's got 4 elasticy things with hooks that we were able to hook onto things that already existed. So that's it. Done. We were able to use the Ram one. This GM one, I'll figure out what it fits and try to rehome it. We'll just make sure the hood still shuts. Yep, that's nice. And you don't even see the thing in there. That's pretty good, eh? Here's our next little job. The laundry tub pump is on the fritz again. Let's get it out of here and see if we can figure out what's going on. Now, when you live in the country and you're on a septic and you've got a laundry tub pump in your basement, the outlet to the septic tank is usually higher than the drain in your laundry tub pump. So there's a few ways you can get rid of it. Some houses will have a pit in the floor with like a sludge pump in it, so all this stuff would drain into there and then get pumped out. If you don't have that, you can use a laundry tub pump, which goes under there, connects to the drain of your laundry tub, and it pumps it up, it pumps it out into the septic. Our original one was a Burcam pump that we bought at Canadian Tire when we first bought the house. It lasted well over 20 years until the seal, the impeller seal, started leaking and it was running water all over the floor. So I said, oh, no problem. That one lasted 20, I think it was 22 years at that point. I'll just run up to Canadian Tire and get another one. That's good life to me. I did try to take it apart. The impeller itself got destroyed taking it apart. And I could buy the seal, but I couldn't get the impeller anymore. It was no longer serviced because they'd gone to this style. Well, I guess you call it a brushless motor. The old one was an old school 1/3 horse motor with brushes and everything in it that never missed a beat. The one I got at Canadian Tire, I never looked. I just looked on the shelf, laundry tub pump. Oh, that's the same as the one I had before. Got it. Within a year, the motor fried. So I said, man, no, that's not for me. And of course, it was like a month out of warranty and they didn't want nothing to do with it. So I said, okay, no problem. I got this. This is a Burcam. Same manufacturer as my original one. So I got this. I found that it seems to have a brushless motor on it too. And I go, oh man. And it's got this same crappy impeller. Well, this one lasted 14 months. And here's what we're up against now. Because they source everything from the land of almost fits now. The land of almost fits strikes again. Look at this. Check this out. That's what it does now. So, okay, I've taken the housing off so we could see what's going on. So what we're going to do now, I went through this with the fan motor in my little heater that I use out in the shop, and we'll get into this, and I'll show you what I found in the fan motor outside, and I bet you we're going to find the same thing in here. Like you can get this, and you could feel on here. This thing is tight, like it'll barely turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the impeller off. It's a left hand thread. So you just hold that screwdriver slot is in the actual end of the motor shaft. So we'll just unscrew the impeller, and then we can take the rest of the impeller housing off. Oh, my bad. It's a right hand thread. I'm glad I didn't break anything finding that out. Okay, and there underneath, that's spring-loaded. That's your seal. So now that we've got that off, we'll see if it turns and make sure there's not just too much tension on the seal or something. But I can feel there that bearing is still really, really tight. Let's try it. Let's plug it in and see what happens. Ready? Yeah, she's still stuck. Okay. Now that I've got the impeller housing off, it turns a lot more freely. I can still feel some, I don't know, I'm going to call it friction or whatever that I don't really like. You can see here it's got a couple of seals. That's the Teflon seal that goes against the shaft here. And there's another, like a secondary seal down there. This has also got something to do with it. I think that's, it's got like a 3-stage seal almost. So anyway, oh, and I marked everything before I took it apart just to make sure it goes back in the same order. Now we're going to get into the actual motor And I'm going to start by removing these 4 screws and getting the top cap off. At that point, we should be able to pull the armature out. Oh, and by the way, now that I've got that and all the seals off, it's back running again. But it does have a little bit of a rough time starting up. So we'll see what we can find in there. So these brushless motors, they use these kind of like spherical bearings on them. They're, I guess it's some kind of oil light bronze or something. And you can see here, this is the wick that's supposed to oil it. There's a little bit of oil in there, but I don't know if it's enough. Here's our actual bearing. Yeah, it's oil light bronze. I mean, at least there's something in there. But I don't know why the motor is, it struggles to start. Now, these things do not have the startup torque that an old school brush on armature, whatever you call that style of motor, has. They just don't have it. That may be part of the problem. We're going to lubricate everything nicely when we put it back together. So far, we haven't found anything really broken or like a smoking gun. So we're going to go ahead and take the rest of this thing apart and see what we see. Now that we've got the lid off the motor, this piece here, and we marked it, we'll pull out the armature. You can see here it's got a thrust washer on the top. It's like a 2-element thrust washer. And then we pull this out. It's got another 2-element thrust washer on the bottom. Actually, that's a 3-element because it takes the load. The weight of the armature is always sitting on that thrust washer. So it's got 3 elements. And then there down in the bottom is our second oil light bushing. We're going to see if we can have a look at that from the other side. It does look like there's some oil down there, but I'm not really sure how much. Now that one doesn't take the load that the spherical one at the top does, because the work is being done at this end. So any side loads in that will be predominantly on this one. Now that we've got that out, what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over and pull the cap off the other end, and there should be another spherical bushing like this one down there. We'll have a look at it. So first we'll have to pull these 4 screws and get this plastic cap off. I think that's what covers the bearing or bushing. Now on this end, once we get this thing off, we've got like a little plug that's popped in that seals off the bottom bushing. So we're going to have to get a really fine screwdriver and or a scraper blade or something and see if we can get up under the lip of this thing and get it popped out so we can get at that other bushing. This thing here, I may do more damage trying to get it out than if I just left it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a bunch of oil into here, and it will soak in. It'll have another one of these wicks down there. The oil will soak into the wick, and then that should be a-okay. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Just fill her up, and you'll see that. Give it a minute or two, and the oil will all soak down into the wick. Or it should anyway. Okay, now we've got that lower bushing and the cavity and the wick all primed up with oil. We're going to go ahead. I've already pre-greased all 3 elements of the 3-piece thrust washer. So that's all we've got. We're going to lower the armature down in, and then we're going to deal with the top bushing. I've got the thrust washer greased up. Now we're going to go ahead and put this end cap on and get the bolts back through. It's got little nuts and bolts that go through. That's sometimes fun fishing them all through this stuff, but we'll get it. And then we'll treat this bushing here. So far, so good. Even with only 1 bushing in it, it does seem to turn a lot freer than it turned before. So what we're going to do now is I think I'm going to put just a little bit of grease on the shaft to help this bushing slide over. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to soak this wick with oil. That'll make sure this thing gets all the lubrication that it needs. There we go. Then this little fella goes on here. That's the retainer. And we can put... oh, this goes back on now, and that's what kind of centers everything up. This fella goes down on there like that. So this part here goes down into this bore and centers it up. And then this here contacts these little fingers and pushes down on the spherical bearing and keeps everything lined up and on center. At least that's my interpretation of it. Very, very careful when you put this back in. It's got to go in the right way. It goes in this way. The concave side of it goes against the bushing. All back together now. It seems to turn, you know, relatively freely. This thing, the problem is it's always, like if you lift up on it and you take away the drag of it sitting, the armature sitting on that thrust washer at the bottom, it turns a lot more free. But what we can do, well, at least plug it in and see what happens. Sounds like an electric motor now. And it hauls ass. Wasn't doing that before. Now I'm going to put the lower pump housing and the impeller and everything back on. We're going to grease everything up as we go to make sure this thing is as lubricated as it can be. And then we'll plug it in and try it again. Okay, let's see what happens now. Yeah, that's running beautifully. It wasn't running like that before, I'll tell you that much. So, like the first time it did it, I thought, oh, maybe something has gone down and got in there and jammed the impeller or something, you know. And I just took the outlet off and I reached in there with a long screwdriver and I just kind of turned it a little bit. You can reach through here, right? And I turned it a little bit and I fired up and it started working again. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, there may have been a piece of junk in it or something. So I said, we'll just let her be for a few days. And then after about a week, it stuck again. I got it going again and then it stuck again. And this morning I said, okay, it's time to take this thing apart. What I've been doing is leaving it unplugged, and just when I come down and there was stuff in the sink, I'd plug it back in, because the little pump from the furnace pumps into the laundry tub. So it needs this thing running or, you know, operational to evacuate that. Anyway, I think we've got this licked for now. It seems as though it was in fact running dry. Like I said previously, these brushless motors, they just don't have the startup torque that a real motor has. I believe that is the problem. So we've had everything apart, lubed everything up, and we'll try it again. So I'm going to get this thing back on, and we'll see what happens. There should be a seal. Oh, there's a seal there. It's a rubber seal. All right. All back together. Let's see how she runs now. Incredible, the difference. You see how easily it breaks away? Before, when I would first plug it in, the motor on the bench, it hit so hard because it was trying to start up. It would turn about 90 degrees on the workbench. Now, it just hardly moves at all. And it's quiet as a mouse. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. So we'll go get this puppy installed back under the laundry tub and see if it actually works. So if you've never had one of these things before, how it works is the water, this here is the drain to the laundry tub, and the water goes in there, and then this here is a diaphragm switch. You'll see it piggybacks, there's two plugs. So that plug plugs into this plug. So as the water goes in there, it starts putting pressure on the diaphragm and eventually closes the contacts in there, which allows the pump to run. A great invention, really. It's just that the quality of them just isn't what it used to be, because I guess these motors are a lot more cheaper to make, or they weigh less. You got to remember, they're paying to ship all this stuff from, well, you know where, right? So I'm not quite sure, but it probably all boils down to they make more money. It's a competitive marketplace. I guess they figure they have to have a motor like this in order to compete with everybody else. I just don't know. If this fails again, I'm going to find a proper pump place, if they even still have pump places anymore, and see what the heck I can get as far as a decent pump. Another thing maybe that would help it a lot would be to mount it that way and have the laundry tub dump into it this way, so you haven't got all that weight of the armature sitting on this bottom bushing here, because that's just more breakaway. It has to overcome that friction of the armature sitting on that, and it's just two discs, right? There's no actual ball bearing or anything in there to significantly reduce the friction. That could be another possibility that may work and help this thing survive. I'm not entirely sure. All experiments that we could do down the road. But for now, we're just going to put it back in how it was and see what happens. There it is, all back installed. Now we got to try it. First thing we'll do is we'll bypass the diaphragm switch and just plug it in direct. And we can hear it running. Good. So now we'll plug the motor into the diaphragm switch. We'll dump in the water that was sitting in the sink when we got here this morning and see if it works. And very important with these things, you have to have a strainer in the sink, because you don't want debris or junk going down there. And away she goes. Yeah, it's running great. Make sure it turns off. Yep. Okay, I think we've solved our problem. I'll keep an eye on it for a couple of days and see how it works. But I think we've got it licked. Hopefully, anyway. I don't want to buy any more of these pumps. I really don't. Well, that wipes out another bunch of odd jobs and little things we had to do around here. Always something, eh? Anyway, I'd like to thank you as always for tuning into the Claremont Classic Garage. I hope you'll come back and see us again next time. And until then, I'm Kevin saying so long for now.